All right, in this day of high technology, North Korean leaders choose to use a fax machine to launch its latest threat to their neighbors to the south. They sent a fax to South Korea Thursday, threatening to, quote, strike mercilessly without notice, end quote, after protests against the secretive regime earlier this week in Seoul. The message warned that North Korea would strike if, quote, the provocation against our highest dignity is to be repeated in the downtown of Seoul, end quote. South Korea sent back a response saying if the North provoked them, they would retaliate. And even as the tension rises in the Korean Peninsula, former NBA great Dennis Rodman is back in North Korea. He's been there before, and he calls Kim Jong his friend. CNN's Brian Todd tells us why Rodman is back for a third visit and what, if anything, the U.S. government has to say about it.
He's had his uncle executed, purged other top officials, hasn't met with any foreign dignitaries, but he's warmly receiving for the third time an eccentric ex-basketball player nicknamed the Worm. The latest strange chapter on North Korea's Kim Jong-un, another visit from former NBA star Dennis Rodman.
It's bizarre, and it raises serious questions about Kim Jong-un's own judgment.
Rodman's visit is sponsored by an Irish online betting company, Paddy Power. It was Rodman's idea, a company spokesman says, and he's there only to talk about organizing a basketball exhibition that Rodman hopes will bring former NBA stars to North Korea next month. The White House, CIA, and State Department aren't commenting, saying he's there as a private citizen. But Rodman is the highest-profile American to ever meet with Kim Jong-un. He once tweeted a call for Kim to release American missionary Kenneth Bae, detained in North Korea for more than a year. Rodman insists he's not dealing with Bae's case on this trip.
They will make gestures like this to a celebrity like Rodman. I've seen this over and over again. You know, we had Muhammad Ali going and doing diplomacy back in the 80s.
And Bob Baer says despite the no comment from the CIA, the agency will likely want to ask Rodman questions after his visit about conditions there. Conditions now prompting serious questions about the Kim family dynamic. Why did Kim Jong-un have his uncle, Jang Song-taek, a former mentor, executed? The regime says it was for treason, but the plot may be thicker.
Here's a guy who knows where all the bodies are buried. He knows everything about relationships in this system, and at the end of the day, that may be why he was shot.
A kind of palace intrigue consistent in this clan.
The violence within the Kim family can be compared to the Borgias, to Caligula. The oldest brother to the current leader, Kim Jong-un, is named Kim Jong-nam. He lives in Macau most of the year. He's protected by the Chinese from assassination because he has openly told secrets and even been critical of the regime and his family.
And there was another sibling who Kim Jong-un leapfrogged to take power, the mysterious middle brother, Kim Jong-chul, presumably seen here. Analysts say their father, Kim Jong-il, found him to be too effeminate, timid, and not interested enough in politics to be the country's leader. He's rarely been seen in public. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
All right, so what is Dennis Rodman thinking, really? Who would know? Who could be in his head? Is he practicing basketball diplomacy, or is he being used by the North Koreans? Let's bring in CNN political commentator Mark Lamont Hill, who also teaches at Columbia University and is a host on HuffPost Live on the web. So you actually did kind of get into his head, Mark. You interviewed Dennis Rodman, if that's possible at all. You know, let's watch a clip of when you asked him about freeing detained American Kenneth Bae.
I'm not. That's this diplomat.
Yeah.
I'm not, and people quit looking at me as that. Like I said, I can go over there and talk to him, and guess what? And all I said, I came back. I said, he's my friend. He's a friend of mine. So I don't care what he does. And I said, all I want to do is Obama to do one thing. If he can actually call him and try to have some type of relation, it could be basketball related. It could be anything other than war or anything like that.
Okay, so he says he's no diplomat, but what he's just now proposing is something that diplomats would do. He's saying, why not, the president of North Korea and the president of the United States have a phone call, talk? I mean, is he taking himself seriously? Does he feel like the North Korean president is taking him seriously as it pertains to that, Mark?
No, he absolutely is taking himself quite seriously, and he thinks that both North Korea and the State Department here in the U.S. are taking him seriously. I pushed him on the Kenneth Bay thing. I said, hey, if he is your friend, and if
Yeah.
you guys do make talk, why
Why
not
wouldn't
mention that
you
there's a
talk about
hostage?
this? Right. And
Yeah.
he said,
And he said, you know what? I promise that I will ask for the release of Kenneth Bay. He said that. He said, I promise I will ask for it. I said, you have to ask. And he said that he would. In his mind, he said he has the potential to be the most powerful man in the world if he can get hostages released. But he seems reluctant to jump into those diplomatic waters. And as you said, we've seen, as the package said, we've seen this happen before, where celebrities get courted by rogue governments for the purpose of making the bigger nation look bad. So Dennis Rodman can come back and say, hey, Kim Jong-un is an awesome guy. North Korea is wonderful. And Obama just won't play ball. So it's a way of making Obama look bad, North Korea looking good, and Dennis Rodman feeling important.
do you feel like after that conversation with Dennis that you got a better handle as to why he really is doing this? What is driving him to be a friend of Kim Jong-un? What is motivating him to make this third trip? What's behind it? Or is it an issue of, being paid handsomely? What is this all about?
It's actually all three. On the one hand, Dennis Rodman is a retired NBA star with nothing but time on his hands, and he's looking for something to do. It's financially lucrative.
Paid?
I asked him that directly off the record. He wouldn't give me a straight answer, but I suspect that he's not flying across the world for free. That's the sense I get. But there is a sense of basketball diplomacy here. I think he believes, and I think he's right about this, that basketball and sports in general can help people heal. It can help nation states come together. But you can't just have basketball. You have to release hostages. You have to stop procuring nuclear, you have to stop enriching uranium. You have to stop producing nuclear weapons and all those other things. So I think he's twisted on that. And then the final thing here is that I think Kim Jong-un is playing to Dennis Rodman's ego. He's letting Dennis Rodman feel important, feeling like he matters. He's still the leader of a powerful nation state. And Dennis Rodman can't go in the White House and watch the NBA Finals, but he can certainly do it in Pyongyang. That's a big deal. And they're friends. They actually like each other. That's the creepiest part. They actually like each other.
The creepy part. And then quickly then, does Dennis Rodman feel a little bit used? Does he say anything about that possibility, whether he's being used, acknowledges it, and is okay with it even?
I raised that point to him, and he said no. He said Marshall. He calls him Marshall. He says Marshall's my friend.
Marshall.
We have the same background. We like whatever that is. We like talking about school. Okay. We like talking about girls. We like talking about the old days. We just like each other, and he's just my friend.
Huh. All right. Mark Lamont Hill.
Go figure.
Maybe we'll hear again from Dennis Rodman post-trip, since he did, make the rounds after the first trip. Maybe we'll get a chance to hear again whether his perspective is any different or more of the same. It is fascinating no matter which way you look at it. Mark.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure.